To sell or not to sell. These are the things that I really want to caution you about thinking about. And later in the presentation, we'll talk about that in a little bit more in depth. But what do you need to accomplish that? How are you going to sell? You're going to take cash, you're going to do credit card, you're going to do both, you're going to accept checks. How big is the product that you're selling? Do you need storage? How are you going to get it there? I was called in last minute because a friend of mine, unfortunately, had to cancel on an event, so she called me and I stepped in for her. It was great, except for the product was huge. She didn't have enough storage. So as we sold down on product to try and get that product back into the sales floor and stock back the shelves during the breaks was a problem. And they were accepting only cash. So that left me taking all the cash, and during the breaks, I had to designate people to restock, and I had to run out and get change. So think about that. That's visually think this through. Visually think about yourself walking up to this booth and what your experience is going to be like. You want it to be phenomenal. You want people to be walking over several aisles of you and say, oh, where'd you get that yo-yo? Or where did you get that? Oh, greatest booth over here, two aisles over. You want to go over there. They're great. That's what you want to be, is that great booth. Okay? And also, are there any type of approvals that you need? If you're going to accept credit cards, if you're going to use the cube that you see on TV, and you hear this lady and she's selling cookies, and it revolutionized their business because now they can swipe it. Well, now the woman that I go and have my hair done with, she swipes that, and that's great. I've worked for companies to where they would not allow this due to technological and business compliance issues. So it's always good to ask in advance. Okay, you don't want to be on site wanting to sell something only to have legal, you know how those people are sometimes, put the kibosh on it. Okay? Okay. As I mentioned before, your program plan is an external document. That's where you get the buy-in. You want everybody to be very sure what their role in the success of this booth is going to be. So if you're having nurses there, if you're having other people within your company there, you want to train them, you want them excited about it, you want them to be as prepared as possible. You want to lay out that roadmap for them. Okay? Not always do people understand it. So you need to take them through the paces of how they are going to make this successful. And most importantly, please, please, please do not forget the way to goes. Pat people on the back, people who show up on time, people who met their goal when they're trying to sell. If you're selling a product, make sure that you have enough product there for everybody to meet their goals. There's nothing worse than there being a goal for every salesperson that's in that booth, and they're saying, I could have met my goal, but Robbie didn't have enough product. Or Laura didn't have enough product, or Laura didn't have enough product. Okay? Make sure that the goals, and maybe those sales projections need to be looked at. You need to say, hey, I've got 80 square feet of floor space and storage space if you only have one booth. So if that's all we have, we can't invent more. So that may be part of that dialogue that you have to have. Your project plan is, again, as I mentioned, your internal. You want to make sure that if you need to speak to finance, if you have to spend finance, especially if you're accepting cash, how are we going to get that money back into the financial system? There's nothing worse than coming back with all this money because you sold all this product and you have the inventory. How can accounting get it in the system? How can they make that deposit? How do they account for it? Okay, so all of these conversations that you need to have, whether it be with legal, finance, creative, or marketing, have all of those. Okay? If you need to do any type of packing, if you need to order any premiums, if you want to customize anything, and let me tell you, I did a small conference not too long ago. We had the opportunity to be one of the sponsors for the coffee and the Danish, the donuts. And I said, we'd like to have our own styrofoam cups, branding opportunity, and also our own napkins. They looked at me like I was someone from Mars. Well, why else would I want to do that? Well, we have a little sign that goes up. How often does that sign follow? Okay? I wanted people walking around with those cups with the company name. I wanted them patting their mouths with the company napkins. So everywhere they looked, they saw our company name. Yay! In the past, I've also when I go and I do site visits, I've gotten into the elevator and they have this wonderful monitor there. As soon as I get off on that ground floor, I want to find out who's in charge of that elevator monitor, because I want to put an ad there. I want to drive the people who were riding that elevator just like I did to my booth. I've been at shows to where my sales reps come up and go, Robbie, people are saying you're seeing us everywhere. They are seeing us everywhere. You're absolutely correct. You want that subliminal branding everywhere you can. Okay? And oftentimes, you have to order that. Okay? You may have to order special items, you may have to order additional cups, and you may have to order additional pieces, but everything should be branded. Okay. What will you need for this booth? Are you going to be using tablecloth? Are you going to be using banner stands? Are you going to be using signage, props? What are you going to use? Okay? Think about that. And again, that's that visualization. If you're going to sell, as I mentioned, cash, credit card, both. Also, if something goes down, if you are going to use your cell phone, if you are going to take credit cards, do you have power to that cell phone? Recently, I was at a show where they hadn't thought of that. And they were running around going, do you have my phone? Do you have my phone? I need to charge it up. I need to charge it up. And they did. It was going out of power. Yes, Dan?
Do you have any comments with regards to talking about the I don't know if you get this later on, the booth setup, as far as how you set up? I mean, everybody here will have a 6-foot table in their booth with chairs. How to set that up? I mean, do you recommend that they set it up to the side of the booth so they invite people into the booth? It's an inviting booth, or up at the front so nobody can come in, but they can speak to them over the booth? I know how I would do it, but
yeah.
We'll talk
We'll
about
talk
that.
about that. And that's under the space issue there. Okay? But you have to think about every aspect. You know, they always say the difference in the details. When you exhibit, that's on steroids. Okay? If something needs power, do you have enough power? Do you have a power strip? Okay? Are they allowing that? Your exhibitor kit's going to tell you that. If you have to order power, they're going to tell you how you order the power and who you have to pay for it. But you need to make sure that you bring enough power bars, power strips for them to approve. Now let's talk about space. Dana talked about the table. Okay, so everybody receives a table, and how many chairs did they receive? Two chairs. Okay. My lobbyism is that table's got to go and those chairs have to go. Unless I absolutely need them. If I'm going to be doing a tabletop display, it is going to be in the back, and the chairs are gone. Absolutely gone.
Please put your chairs under the table so we're not picking them all up.
Because under that table is great storage space. Okay? But chairs, as many times as you want to say it to people, don't sit in the chairs. What are they going to do? Sit in the chairs. And who wants to go up and make somebody get up on their sore feet and talk to you? Especially when you don't even know if you really want to buy their product. You're just there kind of looking. Okay? Chairs got to go.
Unless you're selling chairs.
Unless you are selling chairs. Then that's very important. But what you don't want to do is make it look like a minefield. Like you have to know the code to be able to get in. Okay? And people do that each and every show. I am amazed. Because it is an art There are degrees that you can earn in exhibiting. There are professional designations. I happen to have one, CTSM, Certified Trade Show Manager. And it is like, well, it is from Northern Illinois University. It's like an MBA program. Okay? Why it still goes on, I can't tell you. But people will be amazed when no one stays at their booth. No one buys anything from their booth and no one comes in their booth. You've made it as though you don't want them to come in. You want it to be open and welcoming. And again, you want to invite everyone in. If you have that table there in the front, and if it's a 6-foot table, think about the fact you have 2 feet for them to walk into your booth. From the edge of that, this is about 2 feet, or maybe no, this is probably closer to 2 feet. That's all they have to get into your booth. Visualize it. And if you're not that experienced in exhibiting, get graph paper and graph it out. 8 by 8. I've got a 6-foot table and 2 chairs. Okay, that needs to go in the back or down the side. How do I want them to enter the booth? What am I going to put in the booth? Where is everything going to go in the booth? Especially if you are not going to be able to be there to load in. Because when you load in, you're bringing in lots of boxes, you're bringing in banner stands, you're maybe even bringing collateral. Again, I would caution you to think about that collateral. And then you're going in and you may be bringing in product too. So where does that go? Your move-in will be far more effective, quick, and people will love you big time if you go in with a plan. This is where, and you have that map there. This is where I want the table. Those chairs are gone. This is where this product is. This is where this product is. We're going to store it here. The table goes in the back, or wherever you want that table to go. So the people who may be helping you, hopefully you're going to have some help, there's that roadmap again. Okay, you're prepared. You know what is in every box because you have inventoried every box. If I send 1 box, or 75 boxes, and believe me, I've had a 2-story 50 by 50 booth, and we had 75 boxes. I knew what was in every box. If you are going to send collateral, please don't have it all in one in case something happens to it. Okay?